Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. So now I'm going to give you an overview of the topics included in the final exam question. So perhaps this can be used as a guideline and you can focus and familiarize yourself with the basic information, basic theory, the equations, the calculation and justification. Okay, so your final exam for this particular course, final exam for SKET 4613 section 1. Okay, for this session 2021-2022 SEM 1. So only two of you will be in the exam. So via online examination. So the date is 7th of February 2022 and it is on Monday. And the time, so the exam will begin at 9 a.m. Okay, you'll start answering the question at 9 a.m. But as usual, you need to get ready online at least 30 minutes earlier so that you can complete the required form. Okay, so the attendance checking and then filling the required form and also downloading and check the examination website, okay, whether accessible or not. Okay, general information. So in general, okay, so the question you will be having 4 questions. Okay, only one part. Okay, no sub part or subsection. So only one part, and then you have 4 questions altogether. Okay, and you need to answer all questions. Okay, so you'll be given 2 times. Okay, the question will be given out in 2 separate part. So the first part you'll be having 2 questions. All right, then after answering that 2 questions within 30 minutes each, then you need to upload both answers into the allocated folder. All right, then you'll have a few minutes break and then continue with another 2 questions. All right, so another 30 minutes times 2, and then you have another 10 minutes to upload your answer. Okay. Okay, next I'll be discussing on the topics included in each of the question. Okay, for question 1. Okay, question 1 will be the I'll say chapter 1 and 2. Okay, the earlier part of the course. So question 1 does 3 sub questions. Right, so you have A and then B and C, and you need to answer all of them. All right, so part A, as usual, the fundamental description or basic knowledge. For example, what is antenna? Example, yeah. What is antenna, and then the parameters. For example, the frequency, resonant frequency, the bandwidth, pattern, radiation pattern, and then the gain, directivity, the power transmit and power receive, the freeze formula, okay, and etc. All about the fundamental of antenna. Okay, the description and some thinking question and justification. All right, and then part B, question 1B, will be calculation. Right, so as usual, you have the effective area, the bandwidth, the gain, directivity, power, PR or PT of the total power transmit, power radiated, and then you have the gain, and you have the absolute gain, and then the half power, half P BW, half power, beam width, or full power beam width, and then what else? The calculation from the parameters given. Okay, so all equations will be provided, but some basic equations you need to familiarize yourself with those equations. And I would say the examples that we have discussed in class are the good reference. All right, so the basic calculations method or fundamental knowledge is there. All right, so you should be able to read through the graph, read through the radiation pattern, what you can get from the radiation pattern, from the power pattern, and etc. All right, and next, in the part C, you will be having some thinking question. All right, for example, you are given this spec, whether it is suitable for this frequency, or whether is it suitable for certain application, and you should be able to compare the S11, the radiation pattern, okay, and then you should support your answer with technical justification. Okay, and then for question 2, I would say it's on a dipole antenna, wire dipole antenna, and you have another part A, B, and C as well. A, B, and C. Okay, and then part A, as usual, the fundamental of wire and dipole antenna. Okay, as usual, you should know how the antenna looks like, the configuration, and some description on the I would say, for example, dipole, the balance or symmetrical structure, and then about the current path along the wire or dipole antenna, and then how about the length of the antenna structure, any relation to the frequency, for example, and any relation to the directivity, so very fundamental one. Okay, and then on part B, so there's a design question which involve calculation, okay, of dipole antenna. So for example, you can refer to the example that we have discussed in class. So you have to calculate the length, the frequency, for example, and then the pattern, radiation pattern, and then the impedance as well. Okay, impedance, you know that you'll be having the real part plus the imaginary part, imaginary. Okay, so then how to remove the imaginary part, what happened to the real part, and etc. Okay, and then part C, that's another thinking question, and you need to support the question, your answer with suitable equation or justification question. Okay, so for example, if you are given the structure, if how it should be fed, which method is suitable, for example, is it suitable for this kind of application, and etc. Okay, question 3, again another compulsory question. Again, you'll be having A, B, and C. So basically, those covers for the horn and parabolic. Okay, horn and parabolic antenna. So question part A, again another basic properties of horn, of parabolic, what parameters usually evaluated or calculated, how the performance, the advantages, the disadvantages, and etc. And then part B will be design and calculation. Okay, for I would say pyramidal horn. Okay, so you can revise back the example in class. So what parameters need to be determined in order to design horn antenna, pyramidal horn antenna. So again, the equation will be provided to you, but then you need to know the sequence and what parameters you need to calculate in order to get the final design. And then okay, the pyramidal horn, so whatever parameters needed, for example, the directivity or gain, and how about the size, and then what other parameters needed in designing the horn antenna. And then part C, based on the parabolic structure of parabolic antenna, so in which you need to know the dimension, okay, the dimension, and then the parameters, okay, for example the size, and then the directivity and the power, and the structure itself, the advantages, okay, and etc. Okay, lastly, question 4. Again, you'll be having part A, B, and C. Okay, question part A. Okay, so basic of, I would say, microstrip patch. Okay, and the properties. Okay, how about the impedance, and then the radiation pattern. Okay, all basic parameters. And then you should also know if you still remember that the microstrip antenna, you can control the feed point position so that you can get better matching, right? So so you should be able to calculate the distance or location of feed point, okay, with relative to the antenna corner, okay, the end point of the antenna structure. And then in here also there's calculation for circular patch. Okay, you'll be given the equation, and then there's parameter you need to determine from the equation. And then for part B, the question will be based on the broadside linear array. Okay, so you should refer to the slides and some examples on broadside linear array. What are the parameters involved? How the antenna works, the advantages, some calculations, all right, and etc. And then part C, the future trend of antenna system. So for example, the smart antenna, how it works, how the processes is done, right? For example, smart antennas or configurable, and then or the MIMO. Okay, so I think this contributes around 4 to 5 marks if I was not mistaken. Right, so you need to understand the principle or the current and future trend of the antenna system. Okay, so I think that's all about the topics covered in the final exam. So later I'll be sharing some samples of the past year's exam questions. So you can try that out. Okay, you can familiarize how the question is given, and then how you can catch the point or the key point from the given statements. All right, so again, to have 4 questions to be answered. Okay, no option, so you need to answer all questions, all 4 questions, and then please make sure you show every single steps. Okay, as usual, I recommend you to write down the general equation that you got from the appendix, although the appendix or the equations are given to you, and yet you need to write down the general equation that you use in order to solve that particular question. Okay, and then you include in the value or the parameters into the general equation before you calculate the final answer. Right, so with that, I wish all of you best of luck, and perhaps everything will go smoothly during the final exam. Thank you.